Here we are. Feels like just yesterday we got the announcement that Ilya would vacate the belt at 145, leaving Volk and Diego Lopes to duke it out for the vacant title. And here we are. This Saturday, we're going to see a classic matchup between older legend and young, hungry, and dangerous contender. And guess what? I'm going to be there. I got my tickets, so I can't wait to see this. So let's cut this intro short and go over the stylistic matchup we have between Volkanovski and Diego Lopes. Let's go over their tendencies. And of course, let's go over, given all of that, how this fight is going to play out. Starting with the striking, when looking at Diego's weapons striking-wise, his arsenal is not very deep, but it's very, very effective. Starting off with his favorite sequences, Diego loves to explode for that right hand into a left hook. He of course caught Brian Ortega multiple times in their fight, first in the first round that almost ended the fight right then and there, about a minute 45 in the third, and in the last 30 seconds. And the right hand is really what did it for him against Sabatini, but he still had the habit and instinct to follow that giant right hand up with left hooks. This works really well because the right hand closes the distance while the left hand is already there in range, and additionally that left hook is so deep in the pocket that it's out of his opponent's peripherals. He also can produce some nasty power from up close, like the two heavy uppercuts from real close when he was fighting Sadiq Yusuf. It's almost crazy how much power he produces with little to no range of motion, and that's very scary for Volk if Diego is able to close that distance. Despite the height difference and traditionally the shorter guy closing the distance and the taller guy keeping their opponents at range, this fight will completely break the mold. Though Volk is about 5 inches shorter than Lopes, he still sports a 71.5 inch reach, which is only 1 inch shorter than Diego Lopes's reach at 72.5, so they're about even when it comes to reach. But stylistically, Diego Lopes, as shown by his weapons, loves to explode to close the distance and uses tight left hooks and uppercuts to knock out opponents, or at least try to. In his fight against Dan Ige, again, he loved to explode, get into this tie clinch to let go of an uppercut or a knee. Diego oftentimes will have the height and reach advantage given how damn big he is in the division, but his style has always been to burst and explode to get in close and land strikes. That's why striking-wise, we will probably see the reverse. Volk, the shorter guy, keeping Diego at range with his jabs and the inside lead low kick he loves to throw in addition to that jab, and well-timed right-hand counters like we saw him land in the third Max fight. And we'll probably see Diego Lopes try to explode with those tight hooks and uppercuts and using that right hand or that lead right hand to close the distance. And Diego loves to fight in bursts in general. He loves to go out in the first couple of seconds when he first catches his opponents and then goes for broke. Sometimes that ends in a finish, but sometimes it does lead him to gassing out. We saw this in the Dan Ige fight and the Movsar fight. Granted, those were short notice fights or replacements, but still, his activity definitely dips after those explosions. We saw him noticeably slow down in the second round in the Brian Ortega fight because he was expending all his energy trying to end it in the first. If the fight starts to go the distance, Diego knows that if he wants to last, he has to pretty much be inactive to recuperate for the next burst of energy. And this is where the fight gets really, really interesting, but equally dangerous. But before we break that down, a word from our sponsor. I am so excited to talk about UFC 314 because not only is it a stacked card with Volkanovski and Diego Lopes, Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, all of the fighting nerds it seems like on this card, but additionally I'm going to be there. So I can't wait to see this super stacked card and have a blast. And you too can have a lot more fun watching this event, as right now DraftKings is offering all new customers $150 in bonus bets instantly after just betting $5. Stay in on the action and use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight. And if you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has got you covered. You can bet on in-progress fights right as they happen, making watching the fight that more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you can join in on all the fun and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code TJLovesFights and bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code TJLovesFights only at DraftKings Sportsbook. See, Volk operates really well when he controls the range, controls the pace of the fight, and has a slight speed advantage over his opponent. I think that's why he did so well against Max in those fights, especially the third. He controlled the pace and managed the distance well. But conversely, if his opponents decide to explode out of nowhere or just go 0 to 100 very, very quickly, or if Volkanovski loses control and lets things turn into a brawl, that's when he gets caught. He got caught with this quick flurry from Max in their second fight where a tight uppercut dropped him. He got caught with the forearm really of Islam when he lost control and started to let go of a little brawl with Islam in the beginning of their first fight. And of course, when Ilya started to put on the pressure and up the speed of the fight, he got caught. I really can see one of those explosive quick bursts from Diego taking Volk out of his comfort zone and taking him out, especially at an older age where reaction time and vision may be deteriorating. But there is a big but here. If Volkanovski can somehow withstand these quick bursts and brawls, then his chances of winning just go up exponentially. Sure, he got caught in the second Max fight and then the first Islam fight, but he got into second gear and either won a close decision or made a fight a close decision. In those windows of time where Diego needs to recover for his next burst and volume goes drastically down for him, that's all Volkanovski. Volk thrives in the later rounds and is able to sustain a constant attack on his opponents. If he is able to withstand those first bursts of action from Diego Lopes, I can see Volk cruising to a solid victory on the feet. But what if the fight goes to the ground? Though Diego Lopes is the jiu-jitsu guy and Volk has primarily been a kickboxer, and I did say Volkanovski has a solid chance at surviving those bursts and cruising to a solid victory on the feet, I still really like Volk to wrestle here. Like, imagine Volk in this position at the end of this Dan Ige fight. He would probably beat Diego's ass like he did Ortega. Volk has some of the best ground and pound from this position because he's so stocky. He can stand up while being in his opponent's guard and generate a lot of power because of this. I like Volk wrestling here because this is a realm where Volk's speed or lack thereof now is probably not going to matter since he's going to be so up close, not needing to worry about a quick counter that could knock him out. Though Volk is getting older, I highly doubt that he's lost his strength, and I can see Volk just wrestle fucking Diego Lopes. For Diego, I think it's fine for him to strike freely and only worry about Volk's wrestling when it gets there, simply because Diego Lopes' jiu-jitsu and grappling in general has been so elite. My only concern here for Diego is keeping the fight on the ground. Sure, his jiu-jitsu is very good. Against wrestling, we saw it against Movsar Evloev, and he will probably threaten a lot of submissions, but given the speed and youth advantage he has on the feet, and given that Volkanovski might be one of the hardest people to submit, I think Diego shouldn't waste his time and energy on the ground if and probably when Volk does take this to the ground with his wrestling. So given all of that, here's the keys to victory and the game plan for each fighter. I think the only thing I would add for Diego Lopes that I haven't talked about before is launching that high kick. It's obviously a weapon that has landed on Volkanovski in the past in the first Islam fight, but additionally in general, that high kick on a shorter fighter lands so successfully because obviously the travel time between foot on the ground to shin on the head is much shorter and the time to react is much smaller. For Volkanovski, again, just continuing to take advantage of those windows of time where Diego Lopes' activity goes down, surviving those bursts of energy and wrestling a lot and grinding this fight out into a 5-rounder. So the next question is, who will probably employ their game plan successfully? How will this fight play out? Diego Lopes, I think, given that this is by far his biggest fight, will actually be very patient in the beginning and will not burst as early as he usually does. This is where we see classic Volkanovski keeping range, letting go of straight punches and low kicks, and will probably bank the first round in a much slower round for Diego Lopes. In the second round, this is where Diego will really turn up the heat, and this is where we will see the blitzes. This could also be where Volkanovski gets caught and the fight ends right then and there. But if he doesn't get hurt in these early bursts of energy, I can see him offensively wrestling Diego Lopes in the second and ground and pounding him. And Diego Lopes may stay on the ground a little too long. This will be a very close round because I do see one of those blitzes catching Volk off guard. And if he doesn't get knocked out here, he'll be very hurt and try to take this to the ground. Third round, we'll see Diego Lopes try to recover from a huge round in terms of energy expenditure in the second, and Volk will start to grind out Diego Lopes with jabs and more wrestling, sensing that Lopes is trying to take a break. And this is where I think the 4th round gets really, really interesting if we do get here. Diego Lopes will have recovered by this point and will really try to go for it in the beginning of the 4th to catch Volk. And I think this is where we see a war, again, if it gets here. And I'm very interested to see if Diego has enough in the gas tank in the 4th to take out Volk, or if Volk can survive and continue to bank strikes to a decision. Because if this fight does go 5, I 100% think Volkanovski will have done enough to get the decision. So it's really up to you to decide. Do you think Diego Lopes' blitz and burst of energy will catch Volk, or will Volk survive and thrive in the latter rounds like he's done in the past? Me personally, I think about 60% of the time, Diego Lopes is going to catch Volkanovski here. I wouldn't be surprised if Volkanovski does wrestle and jab his way to a decision, but I think recently we've just been seeing the older generation getting crushed by the newer generation, and I think it might be Volk's time and Diego Lopes' time to represent the new generation at featherweight. But anyways, what do you guys think about this fight? Are you going to be there? I'm going to be there, so hopefully I can see some of you guys. And again, super fucking excited for this, and thank you guys for always supporting. Peace.